It was a sunny Saturday. Daniel walked home with a smile. He had good news. He opened the door and called, "Mom!" "I'm home." His mother was in the kitchen. She turned and smiled. "Hi, Daniel. You look happy today." Daniel sat down. His hands were shaking a little, but his eyes were bright. "Mom," he said, "I met someone." His mum stopped stirring the soup. "Oh," she said, "tell me more." "Her name is Lily," Daniel said. "She is kind, she is funny, she works at the bookstore." He looked at his mom, then added, "I really like her." His mom sat down slowly. She looked at Daniel for a long time. Then she smiled again, gently. "You look happy," she said. "That's nice." Daniel nodded. "We met 2 months ago. I didn't tell you right away. I wanted to be sure." His mum didn't say much. She just nodded and stood up. "Soup is ready," she said. "Wash your hands." Daniel went to wash his hands. In the mirror, he smiled to himself. "Love is simple," he thought. "You just know." At dinner, he talked more about Lily. "She loves animals," he said. "She reads a lot. She listens when I talk." His mum listened quietly. She gave a small smile. But inside, her heart was not still. Daniel didn't see that. He only saw his mum smile. And he felt warm. That night, he sent Lily a message. "I told Mom about you." She smiled. Lily replied, "I hope she likes me." Daniel looked at her words and typed, "She will. I know she will." He believed that. But sometimes love is not so simple. Sunday morning was quiet. The sky was grey. Daniel sat at the kitchen table. His mom made tea. He smiled and said, "Lily wants to meet you." His mom placed the cup on the table. Her face changed. "Daniel," she said slowly, "I need to ask you something." Daniel looked up. "Where is she from?" "She's from another city," Daniel said, "but she moved here last year. She works hard." His mom frowned. "Does she have family here?" "No," Daniel said, "but she has friends." "And she has me." His mom stood still. Then she said the words Daniel did not expect. "She is not right for you." Daniel blinked. "What?" "You need someone from a good family, someone who understands us." Daniel's hands became cold. "But she does," he said. "She listens. She cares." His mom shook her head. "Love is not enough," she said. The room went quiet. The clock ticked. The tea grew cold. Daniel looked down at his cup. Then he spoke softly. "You want the best for me, I know. But maybe you don't know what is best for me." His mum turned away. "You will understand one day." Daniel stood up. His voice was low. "I already understand. I just don't agree." He walked to his room. He closed the door gently, not angry, just hurt. He lay on the bed and stared at the ceiling. His heart felt heavy. He texted Lily. She said no. Lily replied, "I'm sorry, Dan. Are you okay?" Daniel wrote, "I don't know." He pressed send. Then he turned off his phone and closed his eyes. That night, there was no dinner talk, no smile. Just 2 people sitting at one table, but feeling far apart. A week passed. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Daniel woke up each day, ate breakfast alone, and left for work without a word. His mom cooked as usual. But she never asked, "Did you sleep well?" She never said, "Take an umbrella." She just placed food on the table, then cleaned in silence. Daniel wanted to talk, but every time he looked at her, she looked away. He sat by the window one night. Rain fell softly outside. The world looked grey. He whispered to himself, "Why can't she see how happy I was?" He missed her laugh. He missed her warm voice. But now, all he heard was silence. That evening, he met Lily at the park. They walked slowly under the trees. Lily held his hand and asked, "Have you talked to her again?" Daniel shook his head. "She doesn't want to listen." Lily looked at him gently. "Maybe she's scared," she said. "Not of me, of losing you." Daniel stopped walking. She doesn't have to lose me. Lily smiled. Then tell her that. Daniel sighed. I don't know what to say. Lily looked into his eyes. Just be real, be kind, be her son. Daniel nodded slowly. That night he came home late. His mom was still awake, folding laundry in the living room. Daniel walked past her. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. His mom didn't look up, but she said quietly, "There's food in the fridge." Daniel paused, then said softly, "Thanks, Mom." It was just 2 words, but they were heavy, heavy with love and pain and hope. Daniel sat in his room. He looked at an old photo on his desk. It was him and his mom from years ago. They were smiling, holding ice cream. He missed that feeling, that closeness. He started packing a small bag. He planned to move out for a while. Maybe that would help. He walked into the hallway. He stopped by his mom's room. The door was half open. He saw a box on the floor. It was filled with old letters and photos. Something inside told him to look. He knelt down and opened the box. One envelope caught his eye. It had his mom's name, written in soft ink, but it was in her own handwriting. The paper was old. It shook in his hands as he opened it. It read, "Dear Mom, I know you don't agree. You think he's not the one. But I love him. He listens to me. He makes me laugh. He sees me. I wish you could see that too. I'm scared, not of love, but of losing you. Please don't make me choose. Anna." Daniel stopped breathing for a second. His heart beat fast. He read the letter again. His mum had been in his place once. She had loved someone her mum didn't like. She had felt the same pain, the same fear. He sat on the floor, letter in hand. His eyes filled with tears. He whispered, "You do understand. You just forgot." At dinner that night, he didn't say much. But before going to bed, he placed the letter on the kitchen table. Then he wrote a note beside it. "This is your letter, but it feels like mine." Morning light came in through the kitchen window. The house was still. Daniel woke early. He didn't sleep much. He walked to the kitchen. The letter he found last night was no longer on the table. Only his note remained, folded in half. He sat down and waited. The clock ticked. His heart beat faster than the clock. His mum came in slowly. She had the letter in her hand, and his note. She didn't say anything at first. She just sat down across from him. Her eyes were tired, but soft. "I had forgotten that letter," she said. "I was so young then." Daniel nodded. He didn't speak. He let her go on. "My mother didn't accept your father at first. But I loved him. I chose him, and I lost her for many years." She looked out the window. "I thought I was protecting you," she said, "but maybe I was protecting myself." Daniel leaned forward. "I'm not asking you to lose anything. I'm asking you to meet someone who makes me feel whole." His mom was quiet. Then she smiled, slowly. A small, real smile. "Invite her for dinner," she said. "I'll cook something nice." Daniel blinked. "Really?" She nodded. "If she makes you this happy, I want to know her too." Daniel's eyes filled with tears. He stood up and hugged her. She held him tight. She whispered, "I don't want to be the reason you stop smiling." That evening, Lily came to dinner. She brought flowers. She wore a soft blue dress. Daniel's mom opened the door. She looked at Lily. Then she said, "You must be Lily. I've heard a lot about you." Lily smiled. "All good things, I hope." Daniel's mom smiled back. "We'll see." They all laughed. And for the first time in weeks, the house was full of light.